These are the planes that won wars. Proud veterans of the days when heroes fought in the skies.
You don't fly it, you actually strap it on, and then you are one with the aeroplane.
In hangars and workshops across Britain, engineers and enthusiasts are fighting a desperate duel against corrosion.
It's only glued on, I'm sure it'll be all right.
And the clock.
I'll be pretty gutted if we don't make it.
Their mission, to return historic military aircraft to the skies.
The hardest thing is finding the parts.
From Falklands vets to Cold War jets.
As a little lad, you go, Mum, can I have an Airfix kit? Now it's time to play, isn't it?
But it can be an unpredictable business.
We fueled it up and all those seals decided to let go a bit.
We need a plan B. Not sure we've got one.
And dangerous.
It can turn nasty quickly.
Contact. You're taking off thinking if the engine stops, where you're going to land. I mean, I've had 3 engine failures.
It takes serious money.
You need a cool £3 to £6 million to get a good Spitfire.
And total dedication.
Minus 28. Some of the tools are freezing up.
15 minutes of holding a screwdriver, you can't feel your fingers.
This time on Warbird Workshop, the vintage rescue helicopter getting its own life-saving treatment.
Probably the toughest aircraft we've had for quite some time.
And the race to return it to the skies.
When you think about what these aircraft did, yeah, you want to keep them flying.
In time to display at the Yeovilton International Air Day, one of the biggest air shows in the country.
We all want the same thing, we all want it to happen, but sometimes you've just got to step back and say, stop.
Now thinking about your approach, what's your thoughts?
Flying at 100 miles an hour over the farmland of the West Country, Andrew Whitehouse is a man with a deadline.
Come left a bit, go out in a nice circle, get yourself positioned right.
This area is the home of Britain's military helicopter industry. And just a few miles from the landmark Westlands factory at Yeovil, Andrew and his partner Jane are landing at his own restoration hangar. Inside is his latest project. XT761 is a Mark V Westland Wessex helicopter. It hasn't been seen in the air for more than 3 decades.
How did you get on with the trials this morning?
But Andrew and his team are determined to make it fly again.
It's a machine at the end of the day that hasn't flown for a long, long time. And yes, it's going to bleed. It's going to leak.
Former soldier Andrew's no stranger to projects like this. He already owns the only flying whirlwind helicopter in the country. But the Wessex is on a whole new scale.
For it to fly after 32 years is going to be a huge achievement.
Getting this 4-ton flying machine back up where she belongs will cost £250,000 of Andrew's own money and take months of intensive work by a team with skills built up over decades. They're led by Chief Engineer Dave Wells.
Biggest project I've undertaken, and I guess most of the guys here.
Fozzie is his right-hand man.
You find sometimes you think about it when you shouldn't think about it. Wake up in the middle of the night, I think I know what's wrong with that.
Ben is their expert in avionics.
I get called millennial, you know. I teach them how to use Facebook and things like that.
And Mick is bringing years of experience as a Navy engineer.
I did my training on Wessex at Daedalus.
They've got just 6 months to get this ready for the Royal Navy's biggest air show. The most prominent display slot is being saved for them.
It's not for negotiation as far as me and the engineering staff are concerned. It is going to happen. One way or another, we'll have that aircraft at Yeovilton.
This iconic helicopter hasn't been in the air since the 80s. Once the backbone of the UK's search and rescue network, these aircraft were left to rot and decay until Andrew seized on an opportunity.
We've been doing various air shows with the Whirlwind, and I was at Yeovilton and I could see a naval captain down below me with his nice white shirt on. I say up there, would you be interested in doing the Wessex? I said, oh, hello, sir. Jumped down and I said, yeah, okay. And there we are. We ended up managing to do a private treaty sale for the purchase of 2 Wessex. It took a year to 14 months from actually agreeing to buy them to get it released. In the interim, they'd push the things outside, both of them, to make room for the new F-35 mock-up aircraft they'd got for deck trials, and my aircraft were then outside in the salty air, which didn't do them a lot of good for over a year.
18 months ago, XT-761 arrived at Andrew's hangar, and the team started work.
They stripped the Wessex out and have virtually rebuilt it. It's had new engines, it's had new gearboxes, it's had new. The list goes on.
It's the last 10% of the work's taking 90% of the time, and it's all niggles. Everything we've already done is letting go, and we kind of expect it, but it's frustrating. We've got 2 generators on the aircraft, and the one that's not working is giving us issues. We've got to find where the power comes from, where it goes to, and make it work. These are 60, 70-year-old mechanical electrical bits. They're all worn out, old, obsolete. So it's back to the basics, back to books, work it out for yourself.
So you got power going through to the lights?
To the light. Contact are made. Contacts open.
Yes.
Light off.
Yes.
We need to find out where that makes, where we get the power from, and why it isn't.
Yeah.
The avionics side of it, it's always been black box changing, as far as I'm concerned. Black box out, black box in. But now, at least the black boxes tell you when they're broken, whereas this thing, they don't. You have to work it out. They were iconic. The Navy had a massive amount of them, and the Air Force had them in a yellow livery, and they're an iconic aircraft from the 60s, the 70s and 80s. People just love the shape of them. They are a classic helicopter shape.
The Wessex was originally designed as an anti-submarine helicopter. They saw service in the Falklands War and during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. But they are perhaps best known for their robust search and rescue capabilities. Navy diver Smiler Grinney spent 42 years in search and rescue. And for him, nothing else came close to the power and adaptability of the Wessex.
It was 2 engines instead of 1, and you had the exhaust sticking out. And then once you got inside and once you went hovering with it, a lot of power. It got you where you wanted to go. But it was good camaraderie, 1 pilot, 1 crewman, 1 winch operator, probably about 4 engineers, and that was it.
But in September 1979, Smiler and his Wessex crewmates found themselves at the centre of the biggest peacetime rescue mission in UK history, the Fastnet yacht race disaster.
When we started, there wasn't any wind, and there was a briefing before the race started. The Met man said, well, you know, you're not going to have any wind for the next couple of days. And he said, but there is a nasty little storm brewing off New York, which is going to come across and could be quite nasty.
Double Olympic gold medalist Rodney Patterson was on one of the 300 yachts taking part in the race from the south coast to the remote Fastnet Rock and back, when the weather unexpectedly turned.
We hit the bad weather just before we got to the rock. And then we started hearing some nasty noises coming from the back end of the boat. And halfway back from the rock, the rudder finally broke.
That's when Smiler and his Wessex crew started their dangerous rescue mission.
It was a bit windier than normal, and it was just a matter of getting airborne as quick as we could, really.
While we were trying to rig a jury rudder and then breaking it and then rigging another one and breaking it, the helicopter arrived on the scene.
We just couldn't get alongside. So they had the life raft ready, they launched the life raft and they all clambered in.
It only had enough air to inflate the main body of the life raft and half the canopy. So half the crew jumped onto the canopy and half the crew jumped inside. It was a bit chaotic.
And of course we're sort of lacking in fuel, or would be if we stayed there much longer. So I think it was John Charney, the winch op, brilliant lad. He came up with the idea, right, Smiler, I'll put you in the water, you swim to the life raft, and we'll see if we can pull you away from the side.
The stern of Golden Apple was going up and down, up and down. And I thought, my God, if we don't break clear of the stern before the stern comes down, the life raft will just burst.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was just nearest one, strop them, up you go, back down again, strop another one, up you go.
And it all happened so quick, literally 2 or 3 minutes.
We picked 15 up. I think Culderose picked 73 or 75 up, and our crew picked 15 of those up.
We didn't really know how bad things had got, and that, you know, accidents were happening and people were getting drowned. And, you know, it was shocking.
19 people died that day. And 40 years since they met in that life raft, Rodney and Smiler, sailor and rescuer, are about to meet once again.
Roddy.
Hello there. You haven't changed a bit since I last saw you. You were probably the last to come up, or was it Mr. Holland was the last to come up?
No, the last to come up was, very rightly so, the owner of the boat, Hugh Coveney.
Right.
And he said, even though the chopper will have to refuel and come back, I'm going to be the last off.
Well, there was always a plan that I'd have stayed with the life raft, and the cab would have offloaded the sillies and come back, would have carried on, but we squeezed everybody in.
Yeah, well, fortunately you did, because I do know in one particular case, those that jumped into their life rafts were actually lost and drowned.
Amazing few days there, Rodney, on it.
Well, yeah, it was a bad storm.
Back in Somerset, Mick and Ben have hit a problem.
Does the back of that switch go to anywhere?
One of our ammeters doesn't work, and the paper that we've got in our wiring diagram is for modifying with just one ammeter. Our one has got 2 ammeters, so one for each side.
Not only are these modern-day engineers having to get their heads around 1950s technology, but they're also having to unpick decades of modifications.
With this mod that's been fitted to it, you can see that you've got a modern cable connected to the back of the old cable. We're not quite sure which way they're going to. It is frustrating, but part of the good bit is fixing something, isn't it?
So what we're going to do now is swap the starboard and port ammeter gauges across, to see if it's the gauge not working properly after tea.
Yeah, get that radio on.
The list of gremlins is growing, and they're yet to even see if the engines will run and the rotors will turn.
Any sort of maintenance that you do like this, there are always tears because nothing goes the way that you want it to.
The air show is just 6 months away, but no one can say for certain if this helicopter will be part of it.
We know Andrew's wish, and we'll head for that, but if it doesn't happen, we won't force it to happen.
It's got to fly this year, yeah. Yeah, it's going to fly this year, yeah. It'll be at Yeovilton. One way or another, it'll be at Yeovilton.
Here in the heart of the West Country, this building is one of the UK's most unusual Warbird Workshops, a place where helicopters and horses live side by side.
My passion is horses, Andrew's passion is helicopters. My passion has grown into helicopters as well, and so we put up a building that houses the both of them. Seeing him as we've been doing the project with the Wessex and how he's been part of the team, it's really, really exciting.
Today's a big day for XT761.
That's your £300 per litre.
After 9 months of work, it's time to try to start the twin Rolls-Royce Gnome engines for the first time.
Okay, battery master on.
Battery going on.
At first, Dave and Fozzie need to complete their checks.
AC power standby.
And that's it, we're into the start sequence, so start pressing the ball.
And ready. 3, 2, 1, press. Absolutely nothing. Did that start and run it? 3, 2, 1. There we are, start. Winding up. 4,000, 5,000 into the gate. Full pressure rising, fuel flow, light up. 2, 3, 4.
For 32 years, this aircraft has sat idle. Today, it's finally being brought back to life.
Have we tried a reset on the port side yet?
No, we haven't gone up yet, we haven't wound it up.
Okay.
So if you want us to accelerate up and try resetting.
Okay.
Watching on is test pilot Steve Daniels.
Personally, I feel very privileged that I've been asked to do this, to fulfil this role.
Didn't you press hard enough the first time then?
Well, I thought I had.
There are lots of fixed-wing historic aircraft flying. There aren't that many rotary wing. And I think most helicopter pilots would probably give their left arm to be involved in a project like this.
For Dave and the team, it's another thing to tick off.
That went well. The engine started and the Leckies have done further electrical check on the generator system, so and they're happy, I'm happy.
And they're another step closer to the Yeovilton display. The Wessex saw service right across the globe, and nearly 400 of them were built, every one of them being assembled here in Yeovil. Decades later, the same production lines are now being used for Leonardo Helicopter's latest AW101 models. Wessex engineer Reg Hankey spent almost his whole career in this workshop.
When I first came here, the Wessex build lines were all the way down through this side. There must have been probably 20, 30 aircraft lined up, and they were gradually just moved forwards as they were assembled.
Did you work here for long?
43 years.
These new aircraft are lighter, faster, and far more powerful than the Wessex ever was. But many of the skills used to make them are exactly the same.
Basically, I'm doing some repair patches in the fuel tank.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to cut it out, fill it, and put a patch over the top.
Sort of that job that you're doing there sounds like we used to have to do maybe on the cabin roof, where that was all honeycomb concept. And when that started to collapse with people walking around on it,
that's basically the same.
Cut it out, fill it with like araldite with microballooning, and then patch it over.
Yeah, that's the same,
Same job.
Same job, it's just on a small scale.
One thing that is noticeable here, there used to be a real racket with windy drills, riveting, very much quieter, far fewer people than I can ever remember seeing here. It used to be quite a hive of activity. You know, that picture there was taken in the 1960s, about 65, 66. A bit more crowded, a lot more people, a lot noisier. The Wessex, I saw that right from its first inception through the development, because I was involved, again, working in the experimental flight on the development aircraft. They had XL722, which was the prototype aircraft, and then they took that airframe, took out the piston engine, and that's what it first flew as the Wessex. It was a tough aircraft, and it was capable of still maintaining flight with one engine, so it was very good for the services.
12 miles up the road, and 4 decades since Reg worked on them, Dave and his team have hit another problem with their Wessex.
There's a damper on the pedals, hydraulic damper, and its function is to stop when it's flying, the pilot being able to put big inputs in. And in the hydraulic line, there's a hydraulic fuse. So if you lose pressure one side, it closes off, so you don't lose all your hydraulic fluid into the aircraft. It's now closed off, and now we've got to work out how to reset it and bleed the system and get the air out of it.
The hydraulic leak has left its mark, but for the team, it's all part of the learning process.
Nick's probably got the most experience on this type of aircraft. I've got a couple of years, but it's 20 years ago. Well, in the books, they're quite good, but they're quite dated in the way they perceive the way you do things. So we make quite a lot of it up as we go along, to be fair.
Today, they're planning the first full rotor test. It's a critical stage in this helicopter's restoration, and also potentially the most dangerous.
The risks we might find today are the gusty wind might cause the blades to sail. So you might see the blades flap up and down as we engage and disengage, so just keep clear of that. She might go to ground resonance or pad slightly on the start, but we're getting more used to her now and she probably won't do that. But if she does start bouncing around on the oleos, just start moving away, because if she does go into full ground resonance and roll over, obviously the blades are going to fly off when we're on her side, and you don't want to be anywhere near where they're going.
Ground resonance is when vibration in the rotor blades and aircraft combine to cause a catastrophic breakup of the helicopter. It can destroy a Wessex in seconds. This is where decades of experience pays off.
You can feel when something is wrong, the vibrations, the noise. So to be honest, I'm not worried that it's an old aircraft with no systems that's going to tell me what's wrong. I think we'll be able to feel what's wrong, and hopefully there won't be anything wrong. It'll be great.
The whole crew has been trained in emergency firefighting. Steve and Andrew are preparing to engage the rotor blades for the very first time.
Rotor start. Yeah, okay. Okay, forward, clearly. Engaging. Advancing. Okay, 1,000 feet torque. Yeah, that's transmission oil pressure 18 psi. Yeah. Drive select. Main drive. Main drive we have.
But within seconds of getting up to speed, there's a problem.
Did the tail move a bit there? I thought it did. I don't know. I didn't feel too much. I think it's just slightly slippery. The pylon is unlocked. Really? Yeah. Fair enough.
The test is aborted immediately. There's a problem at the tail that could put them all in danger.
An unexpected occurrence then, but we got a pylon caption, which means the blade, the tail pylon fold. The microswitch was indicating that it was unfolding. It's something you don't expect to see, so we shut the rotors down shut the engines of the rotors down straight away.
It's yet another new problem for the engineers. Until it's fixed, this Warbird won't be flying anywhere. The Royal Navy International Air Day in Yeovilton attracts 35,000 visitors and features displays by military aircraft from all over the world. Getting the Wessex helicopter ready in time to take part in this year's show is Andrew's #1 priority.
To Andrew, that is a be-all and end-all, and that will be a very, very emotional moment for him.
Their last test flight had to be called off after a scare involving the tail rotor, but a spare part has been found in an unusual place.
The standard microswitch in the Wessex is the same microswitch that's fitted on the forklift trucks.
Finding replacement parts for the Wessex has been a constant struggle for the team.
In the forces, if you've got a part that you need, you order it, and pretty much it's there, and you fit that to the aircraft, and it's all good. We haven't got that luxury.
But as news of this project spread, help started to flood in.
An amazing amount of help from the CAA. I mean, they've been outstanding. Leonardo, without them, I think we'd have been scuppered as well, because they must have spent hours in document rooms finding information for us. Same with various people along the way that have helped us with spares, and people are happy to give because they want to see it fly.
And today could be the day the Wessex finally gets off the ground.
What we're trying to achieve is the first flight for Wessex XT761 after 32 years of lying dormant.
The test plan called for about a 5 to 10 minute hover for the very first one, and then a land back on and shut down and check that all the rotating parts are fine, no further leaks. So what we're doing here is flight testing an old helicopter, and as a test pilot I'm used to sort of coming in, you're excited because you're doing something new. This is clearly new for this helicopter in terms of recency, but there's a huge amount of expectation, and I'm fairly confident that we will achieve the first hover today, and what a beautiful day to do it.
First, a thorough briefing.
I think we will get into the hover today, and I think the aircraft will lift off and we'll sit there, and we're planning 15 minutes in the hover, okay?
But one mistake or one fault today could be catastrophic.
The first thing that could happen is we could have a single engine failure in the hover, and for that, in a Wessex, it's no big drama. There's loads of excess power in a Wessex, so if you hear one engine running down, winding down, don't worry unduly, because all I will do is drift down and we'll land on. The second thing that might happen after 32 years is that the drive shaft of the tail could fail, because it's not been rotated under strain for a long time. This is probably the most serious thing that could happen today. So I just want everyone to be ready for it. What will happen is you will see the tail rotor slow down and the aircraft will start yawing to the right. So if you see a yaw to the right and it gets worse and it gets rapid, then move away, because at that point we have lost control of the helicopter.
Okay, right. Starting one then. All clear there. We've got that. Starting number one. Yep.
From firefighting to communications, everyone has a role to try to make this safe.
That is a good start.
Now, it's just down to Steve and Andrew, and some 50-year-old checklists.
That's good. This will vibrate, okay? So stand by 3, 2, 1 now. She'll start padding. There you go. So there's a slight tack strip with the primaries out, but I've got a good response. Back through the secondaries, and then the centralised now. Everyone happy? Here we go.
And now, 20 feet up, it's Andrew's turn on the controls.
Today's the culmination of 18 months of long hours in the hangar. We have had every nut and bolt apart, back together, all leading up to that point. So that's a really good day.
It has been a while since I flew, but more importantly, it's been a long time since this aircraft flew. For me, it was as a privilege, really.
Right, we're done. Well done.
There are a few minor little snags, but nothing to worry about, and I'm really pleased. And I think, as you can see from everybody else, everyone is pleased. Well done, the engineers, I'd say.
I took a picture of the shadow when we were in the air, and I thought, this is the only Wessex in the world.
That's in technical terms, that is false.
It's good. Yeah, it's a big moment because everybody's worked so hard. Not just me by any means, but the whole team's worked really hard. A very good joint effort, good team effort.
Everybody looking at me, please. In 3, 2, 1.
They are one big step closer to their Yeovilton deadline, and it's all down to the skills of Andrew's unique team, made up of all 3 branches of the armed forces.
This is pretty much a multicultural society. We have the Army, Navy and Air Force in the hangar.
They put their RAF flag up first, and then Mick put his flag up, so I'm not having that. So I went on the internet, found the biggest army flag I could find, and then when they came back to work on Tuesday morning, there it was, up there.
Andrew himself spent 16 years in the army and has fond memories of the Wessex.
You were deployed out into the countryside by helicopter, and you did whatever you got to do, and you were picked up again and brought back. It was always warm when you went near them. Sort of got in as quick as you could because they didn't want to be on the ground, obviously. And I can't ever remember a time we didn't get picked up.
One of those pilots picking the army up is now flying missions of a different kind. Former Wessex pilot Steve Wardby is now the chief pilot of the Yorkshire Air Ambulance.
Anybody who's ever flown the aircraft has a soft spot for the Wessex. I have approximately 8,500 hours flying various types of aircraft, and nearly 4,000 hours of that has been on the Wessex. It was the first twin-engine helicopter I ever flew, and it's the first time I ever worked with a crew as well. So it's the first time really working as a team in an aircraft. I used to call it the Queen of the Skies. It looked after me, looked after my crew, and I thoroughly enjoyed flying it.
My first operational role was with 72 Squadron in Northern Ireland, so again on the Wessex. So that was 1986. I started on 72 Squadron. This is a lovely picture of the Wessex flying over Northern Ireland there.
The operational flying in Northern Ireland was all low level, so we were flying around most of the place at 50 feet, so you're having to pull up for a lot of the wires and things, which was quite exciting. The squaddies on the ground really loved the sound of a Wessex. When they knew they were getting the big bus, that it meant that they were going to get a heater as well. So yeah, we were a welcome sight, shall we say, when we came around the corner.
And Steve has been following the restoration of XT761 with interest.
I just can't wait to see it airborne. I'm going to get really emotional. I love that aircraft. I love flying it. I love the smell of it, the sound. It's going to bring back so many happy memories for me. If I get the opportunity, I'd like to jump in as well, but we'll see how that goes. I do know the pilot, so I'm fingers crossed he'll remember his mate.
Back in Somerset, it's a grey, misty morning, and the team have turned up to work to find this.
We fueled it up last night for the first time right to the gunnels for any period of time, and all those seals that have dried out over forever have decided to let go a bit. So we're now chasing the leaks. So just another one of those little things that we'll have to cure.
The tanks are full because today's the day they're hoping to take her on her first full flight. But things aren't looking promising.
We're going to wait for the fog, but they're getting the aircraft ready. We're going to assess whether we can run the aircraft on the port engine. That'll use up the fuel, it'll go down, it'll stop the leak. And once the leak's stopped, once we've got it down below the level where it will continue to leak, we'll continue with our plans to, if it's all safe, to do the hover and then do a circuit type up and away flight.
But as the engines spool up, the leak's still there.
We're hoping that if we burn a little bit of fuel off, and we'll just assess it before we go flying. Obviously safety first, so if it's still leaking badly, we'll can it.
As the aircraft climbs, Dave's concern grows.
Okay.
Shut down.
Leaking jet fuel and engines running at more than 700 degrees Celsius could be a lethal mix. The flight is aborted.
Fuel leak, called the flight. And we have our saying, if in doubt, there is no doubt. There is no doubt. We don't want, can't afford anything to go wrong, so no. They'll take it back in now and then they'll do the work and we'll have a go again next week, I guess.
The frustration is clear, but everyone agrees.
I was happy this morning, content that it was safe to do what we did. Because there was a known condition, we were using it, and therefore we were anticipating it would stop. It hasn't stopped, so we'll call a halt and find out why.
Invest it.
Yeah, definitely stick it in the book and we'll cure it.
So.
Once again, XT761 is grounded. Until they can seal the fuel leak, any flying is on hold. It's a cold morning in late spring, and the historic helicopters team are again hoping to achieve a full flight test on XT761.
Okay, what we're proposing today is a local flight. If we have a catastrophic failure of some sort, then it'll be pretty obvious, and we will try and make the best of it we can. If you see that, then please be prepared to get some distance between you and the helicopter. But once we're on the ground, if you can come towards us to try and help us if we are incapacitated, just remember, please, again, don't come anywhere near the rotor disc if it's still turning.
We're in again.
Here we go again.
This time it'll work.
This time it'll go.
Yes.
To have any chance of meeting their airshow deadline, she must fly today.
Engaging now.
It's been a big proud moment for us in the hangar here. All the guys have worked amazingly hard. And the best thing is we're mostly ex-Air Force and it's a Navy aircraft.
It was exciting to to actually get back into a Wessex with the intention of flying for the first time since 1993 probably. And she felt exactly as I remembered the Wessex to fly, so she's a marvellous example of the aircraft, I think, and smiles on everyone's faces.
At 20 feet, and after a brief hover, the Wessex transitions to full flight.
That is amazing! She flies!
There's no hiding the delight on the ground.
Great sense of achievement, really. I know we've done it several times before, many years ago, and on different aircraft, but this one was pretty unique. Yeah. Chuffed to bits for Andrew and Jane, really. He'll be on controls, no doubt. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be chuffed to bits. He was after the hover, so I'm sure he's very chuffed to bits now.
We had planned to have 2 experienced Wessex pilots in the cockpit for the test programme, but Andrew came and sat in the left-hand seat, and to see his face on the first flight was, it was wonderful.
As the Wessex lands, the relief and excitement is clear.
You flew it for the first time up and
thank
away.
you, sir.
It all worked.
It all worked.
He was just beaming. It was wonderful to see.
That was proper flight!
He is an enthusiastic helicopter pilot and aviation nut, and that was, for me, that was the best part of the sortie, to be honest. Yeah.
It's the morning of the air show. Over the past weeks, final niggles and repairs have been completed. XT761 is ready for her public debut.
We've finished the Wessex, it's flown, we've done 15 odd hours on the airframe, but today is our first flying display debut.
At first, they have to get to the Naval Air Base.
We're going to fly the opening display. That's a great privilege and an honour at Yeovilton. And everyone here at the centre who's made this happen, and talking to the people who went to Yeovilton yesterday, there's a lot of anticipation from the organisers and the people who are going to be in the crowd as well. They want to see the Wessex.
Steve's being joined by crewman Andy and 2 guests. Step 1 is to get the Wessex off the ground.
Oh no, she won't go. Nothing's happening. There she goes. That's been unlucky. What was it? I don't know. It wouldn't latch. Booster pump is on, starboard. Production is clear. Ready? Yep. Okay, engaging. That's nice. You want to get the chocks, please, Andy? I'm on my way. Okay, the plan will be we'll lift from here and we'll head 1 mile east of Berryfield, and I'll talk to them on 12735. Okay, you happy? Yeah, ready to go. Brilliant. So there we go. All wheels to the ground. Yeah, talk to the earth like midnight. Okay. Uval radar, this is Wessex 5. Good morning. Christina Gary still smiling? Yeah, just go to the window.
We've recently got approval to fly passengers, so we're taking 2 guests from Leonardo Helicopters as charity guests. They're going to fly into Yeovilton, but for the flying display, our rules from the Civil Aviation Authority stipulate that it has to be minimum crew, that's just the pilot.
Steve's arriving at the same time as thousands of airshow visitors.
Flying starts at 11 o'clock.
Their display slot is just an hour away. But as Steve lands on, he discovers another problem.
It's charging the secondary hydraulic system accumulator with nitrogen. It was fine last night, and inexplicably it's gone down over the last hour, so we're going to top it up to make sure it's okay. If it was on 0, you wouldn't really want to fly with it, so we top it up to its level and then send it flying. It should be fine. It's done it before, this aircraft, but don't know why.
600 PSI. Do it. 600.
Some more in than that.
There is, but it only goes to 600.
The big moment for the Wessex is here. 2 years and thousands of man-hours have led to this, as Steve takes off for its airshow debut.
We're so lucky to have somebody who's looked after the machine. She's an old girl and she needs looking after. The whole team, it's just been a massive team effort.
There is no more the engineering team can do. They join the expectant crowds to wait for their helicopter's big moment.
Rolling out.
In the skies above Yeovilton, the Wessex is joined by 2 vintage Wasp helicopters for the formation flypast.
Opening flypast for the 2019 Royal Navy International Air Day. And how privileged we are to see in the lead of this formation for the first time at an air show the newly restored Wessex HU-5 from historic helicopters near Crewe Cairn.
Steve, lonely as a cloud.
Stand by for Wessex leader only to pull up, clear the formation to the right.
So the Wasps and the present-day types break away, leaving the stage clear for the airshow debut of this magnificently restored Wessex HU-5, the only Wessex currently flying in the UK, and a machine that during its active service days was stationed for many years here at Yeovilton.
Scrub the rest of it. Thank you. Thank you. That's ours.
What a splendid sight. Mark V was developed for the Royal Navy to operate in the Royal Marines Commando support role, flying from the Navy's assault ships.
Steve is very gently putting the Wessex through her paces.
This aircraft, the Wessex, is an old aircraft, and it's going to be a very empathetic display, so very sympathetic towards the capability of the aircraft. Hopefully people will enjoy seeing her airborne, they'll enjoy the sound of a Wessex flying by, and they'll be able to take some stunning pictures.
1 minute.
With the display almost complete, Andrew can reflect on the £300,000 he's spent to get to this point, and the team that's made it happen.
Well, it's a massive achievement for me, yes it is, but it's a massive achievement for the team. These lads know what they're doing. They're all helicopter techies by trade, and they're all good at what they do. And of course, with Captain Steve, we've probably got one of the best pilots there is. Okay, I might be the guy who shed it is, but it's the team that does it.
And Captain Steve has one final trick up his sleeve.
I really enjoyed myself, as I thought I would. I think the formation went well and the display was exactly as I planned it, so I was pleased. But I'm more pleased because all of the engineers have come back and said, well done.
That's it. Well, thank you, guys. No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's been a flawless display. A war veteran, lifesaver, and aviation icon, back where she belongs.